Like if you're not addressing it on a deep subconscious level, you're not going to make the lasting change. When we have an emotional reaction to something we don't have control over, and it's just way bigger than what is happening, that's an indicator that something inside of us is unhealed. And I felt like there was a veil blocking me from allowing myself to feel all of those good emotions because I was so afraid that it would get taken away.
Welcome to the Vitalist Podcast, where healing meets wonder. This is your space to gain transformative knowledge, deepen your mind-body connection, and awaken your human spirit. If you're ready to connect with your innate potential, embrace life's challenges, and expand what you believe is possible, this is the place. Get ready to slow down, be moved, and live like a true vitalist.
Brittny is a life coach and career coach for high-achieving women, a certified breathwork facilitator, and the host of the podcast Positively Real. As the founder of Silver Lining Wellness, Brittny provides a nurturing environment where clients can strengthen their emotional regulation, explore belief work, and use breathwork and meditation to reprogram unconscious thoughts and beliefs. Brittny King, welcome back. I want to open with this because I don't know if a lot of people know this about you, but for your honeymoon, you decided to do 100 miles in 10 days.
If you know my husband, which you guys do, he is a trail runner, and he fell in love with this trail called the UTMB. And that trail goes around Mont Blanc, which connects France, Italy, and Switzerland. And the first day, it was so hard. It was
The first day.
And that was probably one of the hardest days. And he was like, yep, so this is what we're doing. I was like, is this how
What was hard? Like the weather?
It was the
or
elevation and just like getting used to just walking. It's funny because in Europe, they call hiking walking. They're like, have a nice walk. I'm like, this is not a walk.
Oh yeah, it's not a stroll.
This is a hike. But just like over mountaintops. And I can't remember the elevation. I'd have to look back, but it was just a lot of elevation on our first day. So then it left us feeling really sore. But the beautiful thing about it was just like overcoming those challenges each day and then being rewarded with the most delicious food, the most delicious wine. Like we're in Europe in the mountain towns, and the food there is just incredible. And you can't get fresher food because it's coming right from the farms that are in these small towns. So we're hiking from town to town. We stayed in some towns. We stayed in some hostels. We stayed all over. And it was just such a special experience. Like one day we want to take our kids back because it was just so incredible.
So was this before you got into like mindset, emotional regulation, nerve system resilience?
So at that point, I had already been doing lifestyle stuff. Like I had already been transforming my lifestyle through health and meditation and mindfulness, but it's not to the degree that I'm doing it now. Like I was really on this path of loving myself and learning how to take care of myself. And people were starting to notice. They just kind of noticed that I was showing up differently and the way my energy was different. And so naturally people were kind of asking me what I was doing. And so it was a very natural way for me to step into that role as a coach.
Was there a book or a person? Like when did this begin?
So, well, the book that I read was called The One Thing. And essentially the book is about if you're giving 10% to a bunch of little things, you can't give 100% to one thing. And I remember I was sitting when I read that. It was like a light bulb. It was like, I am giving, like, I'm just doing a little bit here, a little bit here. Like if I just focus my energy on one thing, what kind of impact can I make? Because the impact that I'm making right now is so small. And that really shifted it.
So tell me how your coaching has evolved and transformed and how you work with women.
So, I mean, it's evolved because I've evolved, and I feel like I started with this very top layer of mindset work, and I was using it on myself, and it was really effective but not sustainable. And I also really didn't understand the body's role in all of this until I went on my own healing journey, which Kinfolk has everything to do with that. I remember my first session, which was 2019, and I remember leaving and being like, I don't know what just happened, but I feel different. But then really after I had a miscarriage in 2020, it kind of like opened the floodgates of a ton of unhealed wounds that I didn't realize were there. And so I started doing way deeper work at healing those wounds and going into subconscious beliefs and thoughts that I thought I took care of. on a conscious level, but really started to come out after having that experience. And that's just how my coaching has evolved, because I have like poured into learning all these different modalities, the body and the mind, and realizing that, the stuff that I was doing with my clients was effective, but just not sustainable. Like if you're not addressing it on a deep subconscious level, you're not going to make the lasting change. And I was a product of that. Like I would make changes and then I'd fall back into old patterns. Once I like made the changes that I wanted, I was like, cool, like feeling really good. I don't have to do this, I don't have to work out anymore because I feel really good in my body. And then as soon as I stopped doing the workouts that made me feel good in my body, I would fall back into those old patterns again.
Can you give me an example of, because these subconscious beliefs that we have, things will happen in our life and they'll trigger something in us and we won't realize the belief is there or what it's linked to in our past. So what's like a belief system that you felt like going through all of this, evolving as a mother, evolving as a coach, going through all these experiences, what came up for you where you're like, wow, I didn't know I had that installed in my software. And now that I'm aware of it, this is how I want to process it.
Whenever we have an emotional reaction to something that's disproportionate to what's actually happening, right? There's circumstances in our life that are considered neutral. I mean, we can say that they are bad or good, but really they're just things that we don't have control over. And when we have an emotional reaction to something we don't have control over, and it's just way bigger than what is happening, that's an indicator that something inside of us is unhealed. Like there's that belief system. And our thoughts about that circumstance create that emotion. So I like to think of the emotion as like the gateway, the entry point into the subconscious mind. It's like an invitation. It's like the door opens. The problem is, and this was me most of my life, is I was really good at bypassing it. I had a ton of strategies that have served me up into a certain point that helped me just ignore it. And a lot of that is like the happiness gene that I call it, because people always tell me like, you're just so happy, you're so positive. And I am, but that was actually a way that I learned to survive through my childhood, where there was definitely complex trauma there, which I had no idea until I became an adult, mostly a mother. Like I don't think I would have done the deeper work if I hadn't become a mom.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
It's like I got so triggered by certain things by my daughter that I was like, what is going on? And it was mostly just like not allowing myself to feel all the love and the joy that was coming with having a newborn. And I felt like there was a veil blocking me from allowing myself to feel all of those good emotions because I was so afraid that it would get taken away. And the unconscious belief that I had was that I'm not worthy of having a beautiful family, because I don't think I ever thought I would have a family, unconsciously. I had a lot of postpartum anxiety, and the breath work that you both introduced me to actually helped with that postpartum anxiety so much. But that postpartum anxiety, the scary intrusive thoughts and everything that came with it, was kind of just like everything got unearthed. And I feel like that makes sense after having a baby, because your insides literally come outside and it just shakes everything up. And motherhood is just like the ultimate transformation, because you are no longer the person you were before and you don't really know who you're becoming yet. And you kind of have to just be open to that place, which can feel really scary.
Yeah, you don't know who you're becoming. That is scary for a lot of people. So how can women, like, what is a tool you can give women to, like, if they are going through motherhood or they're becoming a mother or they're making a huge life change, how do you get them to see, like, this is you? Like there's an essence in you. You still have the same soul and spirit. But yeah, I agree with you. Like your body went through a huge change. And so mentally and emotionally, things are going to rearrange and come up. But how do you get women to connect back to that?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because it is true. And there's actually a term for it. It's called matrescence. And matrescence is essentially adolescence for women that have babies, right? It's like the same hormonal shift, and you change physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I think a big part of that is being able to connect with yourself, is having moments of stillness so you can remember those parts. And I'll talk about breathwork over and over again, because breathwork was the only way that I was able to do that. And you guys introduced me to elemental rhythm, but it wasn't until I started doing that regularly that I was able to connect with that part of myself, my essence. And so I think for women that are like feeling that lost space and not knowing the direction to go, having some sort of practice where they can connect with themselves daily it sounds so simple, but
it's the hardest thing you'll do.
It's the hardest thing you'll do. And it is simple. It's just not easy to do because our schedules get so filled. We're constantly thinking about what's next, whose needs need to be met, and then our needs get put on the back burner. And I made a commitment to myself to never put my needs on the back burner. Like that was just kind of before Ellie was born. I was like very committed to that. And sometimes my needs do get put on the back burner. Like it's not perfect, but I know when I am in a tough spot or I'm really triggered or overwhelmed, 90% of the time, it's because I'm not meeting my own needs. So I have that awareness to know like what needs do I need to meet so then I can show up the way that I want to show up for my family.
Let's go back to beliefs because I think there's so much to unpack just in these last like couple minutes. But let's start with beliefs. Where do belief systems come from?
All over the place. I mean,
we won't say any names.
But we won't say any names. We're belief system. We're not blaming anyone or anything. It's just how our minds work. But first I have to say like, what is a belief, right? And a belief is a thought. That's all that it is. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but we are not our thoughts, right? We can't be our thoughts because we're the ones that hear our thoughts. We can't be our thoughts and hear our thoughts. We're the witness. We observe our thoughts. And so all that a belief is something that we have thought so many times that we think it's true. People think that beliefs are truths. And they can be. They can work in our favor. Like we can believe certain things that are just a part of us that will not break, and they can serve us. But then on the other side of it, it can also be really detrimental to our growth. Because if we believe that everything is going to be hard in our life and nothing comes easy, then like everything's going to be hard and nothing's going to come easy. And I gave this example the other day at my event, but I have this strong belief that everything's figureoutable. And when Marie Forleo, like that's her book. And when she coined that, I was like, yes, like I never had a word for it, but this is it. I feel that. And I've always been that way. Like I'm always like, there's a problem. We're going to find a solution. And sometimes it works really great. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm like, it like kind of bites me in the butt, but I will never change that belief within myself because I believe it so strongly in my body. And when there's a problem, like I will always find a solution. Now, does that mean that sometimes I become a fixer and it can be a negative thing? Absolutely. But I'm still not going to change it because it serves me so much more than not. So our beliefs come from our family, it comes from our culture, our society, the people that we spend our time with. And a lot of beliefs are handed down. Like a lot of our beliefs are handed down, not just from our direct family, like talking generation to generation to generation. And the problem is we've never been taught that. We've never been taught like, hey, don't believe everything you think. And like, can you question those beliefs? And I think another problem is 90% of them are unconscious until something happens that triggers us and then it starts to bring it up. And then you're like, what is this? So for me, I feel like I worked on the I'm not enough belief for a very long time. And I worked on it on a conscious level, right? Which is great. But the problem with that is the part of our brain that created that belief, we can't try to solve it with that same part of our brain. We have to solve it with a different part. And that's where the subconscious work comes in. And it's life-changing. Because you can go in and look at it from a different perspective. It's like, oh, did this situation actually mean that you're not enough? What other meanings could this be giving to this? And then when you get to that point, you can see like, oh, maybe this thing that happened wasn't because I wasn't enough. Maybe it's because this person was having a really hard time and they just took it out on me. And that wasn't about me. It was about them. But you can only do that on an unconscious level because you can do it consciously, but you feel like you're lying to yourself.
And the conscious is like, what, 5%? It's the 95% below the surface, right? It's the iceberg analogy again, right? And I want our listeners to really understand this because I think you're saying something very important. We can consciously start to integrate or process this belief or reframe it, but it's the embodiment of the belief. And for you, I think it was so important. And so many women feel this, but I don't deserve to have a beautiful family. Like, where did that come from? And secondly, now that you know that it lives here, where do you locate it in the body and how do you move it through the body? And I think breathwork does that, obviously finding that stillness and that meditation, getting adjusted, like all these beautiful things that you started to do below the surface. And then my question to you is, how do you know when you've transformed that belief?
A lot of women come to me and they're like, okay, how long does it take? Give me a timeline. And I'm like, so this is the good news is you have the power to change it. The not so great news is it pretty much stays with you for life, but you get better at noticing it. Like for me, like I have that, it still comes up, but I know when to be like, that's not true. Like now I have control over it because I know that it's not true. And I have the steps that I can take. I locate it in my body. I'm aware of when it's coming into my body now. Like when I feel shame is like, I almost like have this instantaneous reaction of like, okay, like I feel it in my body. What's going on? Like what is bringing this shame? What thought, what belief is coming up? And then same with feeling inadequate. I get like this feeling of shrinking, like really small. And so it's that awareness of, okay, I'm shrinking right now. Like what's going on? And so you have to approach it from the body first. You can't outthink what's going on in your body. I always say this, you can't outthink a dysregulated nervous system. And these emotions that are coming up inside of us are creating dysregulation. It's causing a disconnect. And so you have to go there first and process it and feel it. And then you can go into the mindset work. Like the mindset work's really important, but this is kind of how my journey has evolved. I was so top down. I always was a top down processor, and that you can only, it's like 20%. The body is communicating to the mind 80%. And so when I started to understand that just through my own experience, I was like, wow. I was like, this is mind blowing. It completely transformed how I do everything in my own life, which has transformed to how I work with clients, of just helping them. Like when we're having a coaching session, they love to come right in and be like, this is what happened and and like wants to talk. And I'm like, pause, let's take a moment. I first help them get grounded and I help them feel safe. And then we go to the body, because for me, I didn't feel safe to go into my body. I was so disconnected, but I had all these amazing coping strategies that like helped me be a very functioning human being, where I could just ignore until I couldn't. And I honestly think the miscarriage that I had was that tipping point of like, you can't ignore the body anymore, sis. And true. After that, like I approached everything from my body first after having the miscarriage in 2020.
People aren't connected to their body.
We
see it all the time on the table.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Where do we learn? Like, where are you teaching little Ellie to like, what do you feel in your body? Can you point to it? What's it feel like? Like, what's your belly? Tune into your belly, tune into your heart. I gave someone the exercise the other day. I'm like, just start feeling your heartbeat. Just start feeling it and see if you can start to, just notice your heartbeat without having to feel it. And it creates this embodiment so that we can actually start to process what's here instead of what's up here. It can be a chaotic nightmare, but the body won't lie. It really doesn't. Like I find that when you tune into it, there is like this stillness and there's this invitation to ground, like you said, with the emotion, and then to really feel it, 100% feel it. So I'm curious, there's so many people that like to compartmentalize their emotions, right? Like I have to go adjust today. I don't have time to feel sad. How do you tell people to go through life? Like how do we handle these emotions when they're coming up in real time?
Yeah, because it is. We learn how to compartmentalize, which is an amazing strategy because it has served us. And we can't ignore what's in our body because what we resist persists. But it's almost like, I heard this analogy the other day, and I love this because it's such a visual for me. It's like a check engine light in your car. It's kind of like that, where it's like, oh, the light comes on and it's yellow. So you're like, okay, it's there. I know it's there, but I like don't have to go to the car dealership right now to have it looked at. But if I ignore it, what's going to happen is it's going to turn red or the car's going to break down on the highway. Right. And so you almost want to think about it as like, I know this is coming up and I'm going to set aside time so I can process and feel, because it's not going to go away. Like you're like, oh, it just goes away. I'm like, no, it's still there. You've just distracted yourself. Right. Because what happens when emotions come up is we resist them, we avoid them. Right. And so when we resist them, it just makes us even more uncomfortable. And then we do actions that maybe we don't love, right? Like that's what leads to binge eating, drinking, all sorts of behaviors that, we don't love, like even just scrolling on social media, like things that help distract us, right? When emotion comes up. And so it's just like when you know that you're feeling a certain way and you have that awareness, because awareness is everything, setting aside the time to process and feel it is really important. But if it's like the big emotions like grief, having someone that you feel safe with to help process. Because I think like for me, I know I didn't know how to process any difficult emotion. And again, this isn't a blame. We just grew up in a generation where our parents didn't know, they didn't learn it, and they didn't know how to co-regulate. So you're kind of left alone with these really big, intense, scary emotions to a child. And then you learn coping strategies to push it down. And it's like how we survive. It's like how we can manage. But as adults, if you don't learn that, you can still learn it as an adult. But it's really important to have a compassionate witness. And that's, where coaching, therapy, coming to kinfolk, like having someone to help witness those emotions makes it easier to process them. But the key word is safe.
There's something I heard recently. It says that parents, they basically give us gifts and they leave gaps. And so I'm curious, what was a gift from your parents and where did they leave a gap?
I think one of the biggest gifts my mom gave me is just the ability to see the beauty of the world around me. And I mean, the gap is so clear. It's just that emotional piece. When I started going to somatic therapy after Ellie was born. That was the therapy. I was like, I want something that's in the body because I know that this is where I need to go. And she gave me a term that I was trying to, figure out what was it? 'Cause on the outside, my childhood looked amazing. We had everything we needed. Yes, my parents were divorced, but everything was good. But what I didn't realize is my emotional needs were neglected. And then I had developmental delays because of that. I think that's kind of where the biggest gap was.
You've got 2 kids. How are you setting up their nerve system, their emotional regulation? What are the little things that parents can use that you're using in your home?
I feel like I'm just developing this as I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing and so hard. Yeah. It is so hard because a lot of the stuff that's been coming up, my daughter will be 3 and a lot of the emotions that weren't, and I'm not saying allowed, but were shut down in my house are coming up in my daughter. And it is so triggering. It's crazy. And the other day I got really triggered by bedtime and it's happened a couple times. So I'm noticing this pattern, right? And noticing what's happening inside of me. It is so crazy now that I have the awareness of what's going on when I get super triggered. It's what is threatening me right now? This little human, this toddler is just so innocent. There's no threat here, Brittny. But it doesn't matter because all higher thinking goes out the window. The survival state turns on, right? And I went to somatic therapy. I saw my practitioner, I think the next week, and we were talking and she helped me process. And I went to this place when I was a little girl that I don't remember, but I remember bedtime being so scary. And I had feelings of terror, but it was so empowering because I haven't been triggered since. Because now I know what it was. And I have so much compassion for Ellie, right? I'm she's not trying to give me a hard time. She's having a hard time. I had hard times. I just don't remember them. I blocked them out. But it was really powerful. But ever since then, I can catch it's not that I don't get triggered. I'm just oh, I feel it. And I even say to Ellie, I'm mommy's feeling really frustrated right now. And I don't want to yell. So I'm going to leave for a minute. And just modeling that for her, I think has been really helpful because she now has language for when she feels frustrated. And before I was doing this, it was my frustration was being her frustration. And then it would be meltdown, double meltdown. Her dysregulation would bring me down to her dysregulation. And then after I would go into a shame spiral. So I was I'm the adult here. But at that time, I wasn't the adult. My adult brain was offline. It was my toddler self trying to parent a toddler, like two toddlers just trying to parent each other. It's not a great recipe there. So it is like, it's such a learning. And I feel like I've grown and evolved so much since really understanding the nervous system and understanding her nervous system and understanding her brain, of how like her prefrontal is not developed. Like when she is in an upset state, she is completely unreasonable. And like what she's doing is not an attack on me. And so that's been just so transformative, and I'm so grateful for. I mean, I just call both of my kids, but Ellie, because the age she's at, she's my teacher. And I knew that. And even the moment she was born, I was like, oh, you're going to teach me some things. And I'm so grateful for it. But it is hard work. It is like to do things differently in a way that you've never seen before, I think is the hardest job ever, but so empowering and so rewarding. And, we grew up with, financially, like we were very blessed, and I was born into a very privileged life. And like, people talk about like having generational wealth that way. And I'm like, that's not the generational wealth that I want to focus on. I want to focus on giving my children the tools to know how to regulate. I want to give them the tools to feel safe in their bodies. Like, to me, that's like the best generational gift that we can give our children.
Well, it's their character, right?
Yeah.
It's what they have when everything's taken away. They have that. So I think that's beautiful.
And it teaches them, like, I grew up thinking that the purpose in life was to be happy. I know that I'm not alone in that, but I was like, if I'm not happy, something's wrong. But it's impossible to be happy all the time. So anytime I was unhappy, I was like, well, something must be wrong with me because I'm not happy right now. But through the work that I've done, I've learned that's not the purpose. But then we kind of fall into this trap with our kids of like, I just want them to be happy. I just want to make sure that they're happy. And I've been learning more and more that like her being happy is not the goal. I want to teach my daughter how to be resilient, because life is full of ups and downs and bumps. And I want to teach her how to be able to handle that and have that flexibility and adaptability in her body and be able to handle those stressors. Because like, that's life. Like if I make her life super easy and she's happy all the time, she's going to go into the real world and be like, oh no, like I can't handle this. Any hard thing that's going to happen, which it will, it's going to knock her down. And it'll be way harder for her to get back up. She'll be looking to me or Brian to help her get back up, and we'll always be there. But I want to give her the tools to know that she can handle it and be resilient in that way.
So tell me, Silver Lining Wellness, I know you help women. We share a lot of clients, and I love the work you do. It's so synergetic to what we do. But tell me, like, when someone wants to onboard with you, what can people expect?
What they can expect, I mean, it's a blend now, which is so cool, because it used to be very mindset focused. But now when someone onboards with me, I do a very in-depth intake form, because the work is so intangible. Like there's not a lot of data. And it's kind of like what you guys do. Like you can notice changes in your life, but it's really changes in the body that make the biggest difference. And so I have an in-depth intake form that we do at the beginning and the end, so they can see how far they've come, whether that's we work together for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. But after that, then we get really clear on the area that they want to focus on. And I started using breathwork to do that, to get to that subconscious level, because the breathwork helps downregulate and helps people get out of that conscious mind, the ego that tells them like, oh, like I want coaching because I want to lose 20 pounds. And it's like, that might be what your conscious mind is telling you, but like really, what's this about? And so I use coaching and different meditations to help rewire that on that deeper level. So the sessions are virtual, which is great because people can be in the comfort of their own home. And depending on what area of life they want to focus on in our first, time working together, that's where the meditations and the breath work go. And, people come and they're like, I have all these things. And I'm like, all roads lead back to you.
Yes.
So pick one area and it's going to impact all the other areas. Yes, after we focus on one area, if you want to go a different route, that's great. But they all come back because like, always come back.
There's a common denominator, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I love that. When you are, because breathwork is so fascinating, we have this shared experience with it too. And elemental rhythm has been such a gift. But what's like a pivotal experience you had with breathwork, either on the coaching side that you saw with the client or what you experienced?
I'll share both.
Okay.
Because it just blows my mind every single time, especially the group sessions. It blows my mind at the insights people have that with traditional coaching, we wouldn't be able to get there. Like just these, because I firmly believe that everybody has what they need within them and they have this innate wisdom, call it universe, call it higher self, intuition, God, like whatever it resonates, like it's within every single human being. We have to just turn off the noise to connect with it. So leading the breathwork classes, the shares after, I'm just like, that is amazing to have to make that connection or have this moment with yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise. Traditional coaching doesn't get people there. But
wait,
for
let me pause you.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it?
Because it's here. It's here. It's using your higher thinking, which is great, but we want to make those connections on a subconscious level. Because like we think about it here, but if we don't believe it here in our body, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I feel like this searches for it and this like it comes through us.
Exactly. Yeah. And I, with coaching, it's like, I don't know what people need. Like, I think people come to coaching, they're like, tell me all the answers. I'm like,
you're psychic, right?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't have the answers for you. Like, I don't. What I do is I hold space. I hold space for you to find the answers within yourself. And when you feel safe to do that, it's amazing what people can do. Coaching asks questions, and those questions bring things up from deep within. And then coaching also offers different perspectives, right? It's like, have you ever like looked at it this way? Or what else could this mean? It's one of my favorite questions is, what are you making this mean? And what else could this mean? And once people feel that space, like that's where they make the lasting change. I could tell people what to do all day long, but they're not going to make the lasting change being told what to do. They're used to people telling what to do and it works, but it's not sustainable. Breathwork has been amazing to see that transformation in the group settings, but also my clients that I've been working with, just having these realizations of, wow, like this belief came from this experience. And it's unbelievable that it's still controlling my life, right? It's like, I thought that was a thing of the past. And it's a thing of the past, but it still lives in your body until you truly address it. For me, the breathwork experience that really just transformed everything was my very first one in person when I was doing the facilitator training. And I just remember during the meditation feeling like that veil that I had mentioned earlier of like blocking me from feeling love and joy because I believed that I wasn't worthy of it. It was like it was lifted. And all the love, all the joy just was like pouring into me and I could like feel it. It was like this light energy and it was so overwhelming. I was like bawling, but it like not in a sad way. It was just so emotional. And I came out of that experience just buzzing. I was like, I am different. I can feel like everything about me. I came here after and you could feel it in my nervous system. Now, that doesn't mean I did it once and then all of a sudden everything just magically changed. It just brought this awareness that I never had. And now I have daily practices in place to help keep me in that alignment. Do I fall out of alignment? Do I fall into old patterns of thinking? Absolutely. But now I have something that I can always use to come back into alignment and come back into that space.
Okay, I have one question left before we kind of close. If you could help women embody one thing or one truth, what would it be?
That they're enough. At the end of the day, I think that's the curse that so many women have been handed down. And it's like rooted in scarcity. It's rooted in fear. And if like we could shift that on a universal level, it would be so different. I think it holds so many people, but specifically women, back from fulfilling their purpose and what they're here on this earth to do. And I've worked on, this belief has been so insidious in my life. And I was like, felt like I had worked on it and then I became a mom. It's like,
still got to work on it.
We got to work on it. And it still comes up, but now it's just almost like it pops up. And I can look at it and see it for what it is and know it's trying to protect me from something that might be unfamiliar. And just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's unsafe. And I almost have to like go to that part of me and just say, I'm safe. Like I don't need this. I'm not enough to try to protect me from stepping into, this next phase in my life or really embodying this version of me as a mother, and it's like, once you can really address that core wound, it really changes everything.
Brittny, it's been such a privilege.
Privilege is all mine.
Oh my gosh.
It's like so full circle to get to have this conversation
absolutely
with
agree.
you. I've said it before, but kinfolk had completely changed my life because not only, the breath work that you introduced me to, but just understanding the body, understanding the nervous system, even coming in here and then being adjusted and like knowing what's going on without me saying anything. It was when I was trying to figure out, I was in a really interesting spot with my business and Ellie was 6 months and I came in and you said to me, like, it feels like your system is like being pulled in different directions. And I had literally had that conversation with Brian maybe an hour before I came. And it was just such a crazy, there's no denying what is happening inside our body and the more attention we can bring to it. So like coming here, having this conversation is just like such a gift because I don't think I'd be doing any of the stuff that I'm doing or helping the women that I'm helping in this way if I hadn't found kinfolk.
Wow. Well, we are humbled by all of that. Where do people find you? How do people connect with you?
They can connect with me on Instagram.
Okay.
Also my website, brittnyking.com. Super easy to remember that. Although I do spell my name Brittny. But yeah, that's where you can find me. My podcast, Positively Real, where I have these types of conversations weekly.
Well, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, share it with a friend. For more conversations filled with awe and wonder, be sure to subscribe to the Vitalist podcasts. Till next time.